There were mixed results from Thomas White's AAA debut.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, leave a like, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. And on today's show, we're going to take a look at Thomas White's AAA debut for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. It was interesting, to say the least. One of the more unique pitching lines you'll find in any game. We're going to take a look at the decisions the Marlins are making regarding their bullpen, calling up certain guys, keeping pitchers that I don't think belong in the bullpen at the major league level. They're still here. We're going to discuss that. And also 5 straight losses now for the Marlins. The season, it's been over with in terms of playoff contention, but you still got to play for pride. And this past week, you get swept by the Nationals. You're in danger of getting swept by the Phillies. We're going to discuss that as well. Thomas White, I view him as the best pitching prospect, not just on the Marlins, but in all of baseball. Remember, this is a pitcher who was drafted with a competitive balance pick a couple of years back. He wasn't a first-round pick, technically. That designation belonged to Noble Meyer, and Noble Meyer and Thomas White in the same draft class. It's been Thomas White who's shot to the top of prospect leaderboards both for the Marlins and across the country and across baseball in general. He got called up after, just a stellar start to his season. This is now his 3rd team in the Marlins organization in 2025 alone. He started out the season with Beloit, high A Beloit. After 9 starts, got promoted to AA, where he made 10 starts, 45 and a thirds innings there, a 1.59 ERA, and he earned a early September promotion to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Well, he pitched today on Saturday, and this is a special weekend episode. So for those of you guys listening, I was out of town. I missed Thursday's episode, so I'm making it up here. Hopefully you enjoy the show. And you can see the new setup behind me. I got the new Marlins flag. For those who are wondering what type of Marlins flag would be on the show in the setup, it's the throwback Marlins since 1993. Back to Thomas White, though. 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 6 walks, and 10 strikeouts. Let's just break this down here. This is his first start at the triple A level. He just got promoted. He's super young. He's 20 years old. He's 1 step away from the major leagues. Of course, there's going to be nerves. There's going to be excitement. He wasn't commanding the strike zone to the best of his ability. Are we going to see this become a norm where he's walking 5-6 guys every start? No. So the struggle with command, honestly, I chalk that up to nerves. I chalk that up to a new team, a new environment, and making your debut at a new level. That's not the pitcher that he is. White, the pitcher that he is, though, is reflected more in the 10 strikeouts than the lack of command. 10 strikeouts. He registered a strikeout at least with the fastball, the changeup, and the sweeper. So showcasing some very good secondary pitches. The fastball hit 99 miles an hour. The stuff is there. That's never a doubt. And you look at some of these numbers in terms of just avoiding the barrel, because he didn't get hit hard at all. He didn't give up a base hit until the 5th inning, where he started to fade. His pitch count was approaching 90, and he got a little bit right at the end. But 57% whiff rate on the four seam, the sweeper 67% whiff rate, and the changeup a 50% whiff rate. That's pretty good if you're Thomas White. And if you're the Marlins, this is why you believe in him as your number one prospect, as a future ace for this organization. We're still waiting to find out what happens or what will happen with Edward Cabrera. Will he have to undergo Tommy John surgery? You don't want to spend too much time speculating on that. But if worst comes to worst, and you're without Edward Cabrera in 2026, then I think Thomas White can be that guy, can step up and make his major league debut early on in the season and contribute to the Marlins as early as April, May next season. Maybe he forces the Marlins' hand and he breaks camp. You never know. Of course, there's the element of team control and service time manipulation, so we're not going to spend too much time on that. But if I had to grade out of a letter grade of Thomas and his first start at the AAA level, I would call it a solid B. I'm not going to go to an A because of the walks. He didn't complete 5 innings, but that was just a good, solid start. 3 runs. Again, the line is a bit skewed because he didn't give up a hit until there were 2 outs in the 5th. And that's when things kind of got away from him. But a solid B. The strikeouts are evident of his capability. He's a strikeout pitcher without a doubt. He's somebody that when he's built up to be a workhorse and an innings eater, you could see this guy have 220 strikeouts in a season. He's going to average well over 9 strikeouts or 9 Ks per 9. He's really, really good. And the Marlins have to be excited with what they have. At this point in the season, it's almost as if these are the moments that diehard Marlins fans have to live for. Because as I'm going to talk about later in the show, the big league team is struggling. We're at the final stretch. These guys are playing out the course. But a lot of fans have turned the page to football season. These promotions, Thomas White in particular, that's a big storyline the rest of the way. Another storyline I think is pretty interesting, and I need to break it down, is how the Marlins are operating their bullpen depth, calling up guys from the minor leagues, and then just leaving certain pitchers that don't belong at the major league level and giving them chance after chance. I'm going to explain more about that right after this. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime-flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. It's perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or you just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. And I'm about to go to Topgolf, so I'm not hitting the course, but I am going to go to Topgolf tonight with my brother and see what I can do. Maybe I beat him. You never know. Golf is all about the good times with good people and good flavors, and the grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you exactly that, and you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. I appreciate you guys who tune into the show every day, all the everyday listeners who make this part of your daily routine. We're in the final few weeks of the season. I'm hoping the Marlins finish strong. But what's really confusing for me as a fan and as somebody that comes on the show every day during the week and talks about the team is what they're doing with the bullpen. First off, I'm going to start with the good. because this needs to be addressed. Christian Roa, if you're an everyday listener of the show, a few weeks back, you heard me mention his name. I think it's the only time I dedicated some time on Locked On Marlins to talking about Christian Roa. He finally got his opportunity, made his major league debut today against the Phillies, and he looked good. 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. It wasn't a loss. The Marlins lose this game 4-2, but Roa looked good. He's got an electric arm. He's throwing heat. He's throwing gas. And when you have a pitcher like that, I'm glad the Marlins are giving him an opportunity to just showcase what he has at the major league level. He had a solid season, a really good season in the minors, showed a ton of improvement from last year when he was with the Reds organization in AAA. In AAA a year ago, 48 2/3, an ERA over 5. This season in the minor leagues, 57 1/3 innings, an ERA of 2.83. And opponents were hitting just 174 off him. So I think he's an exciting arm that you bring in for the last 3 weeks of the season, give him opportunities out of the pen, give him a couple high leverage spots, and see if he survives. I'm all for this move, and I'm a Christian Roa believer. I think the Marlins have something with him. I'm glad he's finally getting his opportunity. What I'm not happy with is a couple of pitchers who, for some reason, the Marlins refuse to move on from at the major league level. First one, George Soriano. What more do we have to see as Marlins fans or what more do the Marlins have to see to stop throwing George Soriano out there, to stop giving him opportunities to just give boatloads of runs up to the other team? He got called up again. He pitches again in Friday's game and gives up four runs in 1 inning. Guess what his ERA is? I'm gonna just give you a quick second to think about that. Off the top of your head, if you had an ERA of 9.72 for George Soriano in the big 2025, then credit to you, because that's exactly what it is. It's not like he's been much better his entire career. His entire career, 64 games, 106 1/3 innings, ERA just over 6. Yeah, he had a solid season in 2023, 3.81, but last season abysmal, this season abysmal. It's time to stop the George Soriano experiment. That's the pitcher you throw when you want the other team to score runs. That's the only way I can explain it. If you care about losing, by all means, put George Soriano in the game. The other pitcher, Josh Simpson. Simpson's ERA over 8. He got recalled again. We've seen how it goes in the minor leagues, or in the major leagues already, in high leverage situations. He's not a high leverage reliever, and hopefully the rest of the way Clayton McCullough doesn't go to him in high leverage spots. Even though these games may not matter in the standings, they matter to the Marlins. They matter to the players in that clubhouse. They should matter to the front office, and of course they matter to the fan base. You want to see the Marlins win, and Josh Simpson, to me, just feels like a guy who's not part of the long-term plans of this team. Now, credit to him. In Friday's game, he did go 2 scoreless, but he was allowing base runners, 4 hits, 2 walks. His command is shaky all the time. It feels like he's hitting somebody or walking someone. I don't really like Josh Simpson as a piece of this Marlins bullpen. In the future, in 2026, sure, maybe he could be minor league depth for you. Get called up when there's an injury or two, or when you really have to call somebody up. But in no scenario do I want to see Simpson and Soriano pitch meaningful innings for this team next season. The other interesting part of this bullpen equation is Declan Cronin. Declan Cronin, who hasn't pitched all season, was released by the organization. And if you remember the 2024 Marlins, of course, overall a losing season, nothing to write home about. Declan Cronin was one of the standouts of the Marlins bullpen. He led the team, well, let's see, 81 and a third innings for his career. Last season, 70 and a third. Yeah, he pitched 11 innings with Chicago, but 70 and a third innings with the Marlins in 2024. I believe that led the team. He was the most relied upon reliever last season. ERA of 4.35. He struck out 72, only gave up 1 homer. I thought he was pretty solid for a guy that came over. Nobody really knew too much about him. Was a workhorse, could eat innings, and the Marlins released him. He didn't make the opening day roster because he was dealing with an injury, and then a couple of injuries later, the Marlins decided to part ways with him. His stuff, they must have seen something that just discouraged them from keeping him around in the building. The drop off from a season ago to this year and his rehab and his progression back to being a healthy pitcher, something must have went askew, because I did not expect him to get flat out released. I didn't necessarily expect him to pitch again this season, but to get released, that feels a bit premature. At least let him, get back to the majors if he was going to this season and see what he's got. I don't know. I disagree with that move 100%. It doesn't make any sense to me. But the bullpen, I've also seen some discourse on Lake Bacher saying Lake Bacher's not good, this and that. And yeah, he had a rough outing Friday night, gave up 3 runs in just 1 inning, gave up a couple of homers. But overall, Bacher, the last few games he's pitched and he's struggled. There's no doubt about that. And that just might be due to the fact, he's running out of gas. He's tired. This is his career high in innings pitched at the major league level. Remember, last year, that was his major league debut. I don't know. I just think Bacher, you don't give up on him just yet. He's still 3.96 ERA, over 60 innings pitched. He's proved to be a good option in certain high leverage situations. I like the Great Lake of Bacher. I think he can be a contributing piece to the bullpen in next season, because remember, 3 weeks left. This is essentially your audition for next year, and to show the front office, hey, we still have something here. For Bacher, I see no reason why you don't bring him back next season. He doesn't have to be your closer. He doesn't have to be your 8th inning guy. But I have no problem with Bacher picking up innings in the 7th, 6th inning when you need an out or two. I like him. I like that he has multiple pitches, that he can get a strikeout. And he showed up in some pretty big spots for the Marlins this season. Now, has he been struggling? Sure. But don't overreact and don't throw out Bacher as a potential the same. Don't group him into the same group as George Soriano or Josh Simpson. I don't view him in that regard. Also, I'm still waiting for Josh White to get called up, because it's like, what are we doing here? He's dominating in the AAA level, and you're still not giving him an opportunity. And that's where I tie a bow on this bullpen discussion. It all comes together like this. Soriano and Josh Simpson, they're getting innings, whereas you're wasting bullets in AAA with Josh White, who could be better than Bacher, Soriano, or Simpson. Who knows? Maybe he could end up being the best Marlins reliever they have. And I'd like to see what he's got at the major league level, especially now in September, where the rosters can be expanded. And honestly, the games, wins and losses, it's not as important as it was in July. You can give Josh White an opportunity, and if he falters, he falters. You're 12 games under 500. I hate to say it like that, but you're at the point where, yeah, you care. Excuse me, almost sneezed there. you're at the point where you still care about the games. You're not trying to lose them, but you want to see what your guys got, develop them. And coming into the season, this was a developmental year anyway. So why hasn't White got an opportunity? The losses have been piling up for the Marlins, though. 5 straight now. It's been a really bad week as we record this here on a Saturday in September. 5 straight losses. You get swept by the Nationals, which I think is just inexcusable. And then you've lost 2 straight to the Phillies. So we're going to talk briefly about this week and just the disappointment that it's been for the Marlins. That's coming up right after this. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. And if you're a Marlins fan, you've only got a few weeks left to do so. So head out to Lone Depot Park and go see the Marlins play. And if you want tickets to go watch the Marlins, I encourage you to use Gametime. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. And my favorite aspect of Gametime is the all-in pricing feature. What you see on your screen, that number is the number you're going to pay at checkout. There's none of these hidden fees. There's no trickery. It's straight cold hard facts. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDOMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. But also remember, Locked On Marlins is on all the major podcast platforms out there. You can find the show wherever you are, whether you're in Florida, you're in California, coast to coast. It doesn't matter. If you love the Marlins, you should like and subscribe and follow on Spotify, Apple. Let's keep growing this podcast. We just got a few more weeks left in this season. The Marlins have a few more weeks to try to play some good baseball and some better baseball than what they've been playing. Let's go back to the beginning of the week. You start off the series against the Nationals by getting shut out 2-0. You had 2 hits and you got shut out by a guy, Andrew Alvarez, I believe his name was. Never heard of him in my life, making his major league debut, if I recall correctly. Well, that wasn't good. And remember, the Marlins were coming off of a series win in New York at Citi Field against the Mets. And then they end up getting swept by the Nationals. They lose 2-0, 5-2, and then 10-5. It just wasn't a good showing by the Marlins, and the Marlins offense in particular, especially those first 2 games. It's like they just slept in and didn't wake up in the nation's capital. Then you have an off day on Thursday with the Phillies coming to town. You had a couple of promotions at Lone Depot Park. You had a pizza party Friday, and then City Connect Saturday, of course, where the Marlins wear their brilliant City Connect uniforms. One of my favorites in Major League Baseball. Comment below what your favorite City Connect uniform is, but you really can't go wrong with Miami's. You lose 9-3 on Friday night. Just a boring, uncompetitive loss. The highlight I had from that game, Brian Navarreto, who actually played with the Marlins a few years back in 2020 during the COVID season. Brian Navarreto hit his first career Major League home run. So we're at the point, and Marlins fans know this well, where you're going to see guys you're not necessarily familiar with. That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to the Marlins and teams who, might be out of contention at this point in the season. Navarreto's the 3rd catcher on the Marlins. He pinch hit for Augustin Ramirez, came in defensively as well as the catcher, and hit a homer in his first at bat in 2025. So good for him. That's what you want to see. You like to see that coming from a guy who is getting an opportunity at the major league level. You're a career minor leaguer, essentially. Go up there, swing the bat, have fun with it. You see the emotions from him rounding the bases. So good for Brian. Saturday's game, it was my favorite pitching matchup of this 3-game series between the Phillies and the Fish. You had Jesus Luzardo against Sandy Alcantara, who's been throwing the ball really, really well as of late. And Jesus Luzardo coming back once again to South Florida, to Lone Depot Park. He outdueled Sandy Alcantara. Luzardo and Sandy both go 6. Luzardo just 2 runs. He struck out 8 Marlins. We always knew he was a strikeout pitcher, and I think he's going to play a big part of the Phillies' postseason plans. If the Phillies want to have success, hopefully Jesus Luzardo, for their sake, continues pitching well. Sandy goes 6 innings, gave up 4 earned runs, gave up a first-inning blast to Bryce Harper to kick off the scoring. He walked 1. He struck out 4. Sandy's ERA, as we're approaching the end of the season, it's at a 5.67. But don't let that number distract you from the fact that he has been pitching well. Just a little too late for the Marlins in their plans. You would have loved to see him start off the season hot. There was a lot of worry with Sandy Alcantara, but I'm glad that there's that old Sandy, that Cy Young Sandy, that's still in there. And for 2026, that's going to be key. That's going to be key because the strength of this team still is going to reside in the rotation. I really, truly believe that. You're looking at this lineup, up and down the lineup. There's guys that have question marks, right? Max Acosta at second base, is he going to be somebody that contributes a lot next year? I don't know. The jury's still out on him. Javier Sanoja profiles to me more of a utility player, John Birdie, if you will. Jacob Marcy is a star. We get that. If you're not on the Jacob Marcy hype train, you should be. But then Heriberto Hernandez, he's cooled down. Where does Joey Weimer fit into the Marlins' plans? Is he just somebody for the remainder of this season? The outfield is deep. You have Kyle Stowers, who should be returning. He's in rehab in Jacksonville. You have Griffin Conine, who should be returning this season. Dane Myers, who's currently on the injured list, but where do the Marlins fit Joey Weimer, Dane Myers into their offseason plans heading into 2026? Also, take a look at Agustin Ramirez now. He went 1 for 3. His average has slipped to 228. It's under 230. His OPS is dangerously approaching under 700. So Augustine last 15 games, 161 average, just 1 home run, 2 homers across his last 30 games. So for Augustine, you want to see him heat up a little bit. I just want to see this team play competitive baseball. Next week, go into next week, and you got the Nationals again for 4, this time at home. You should be better than the Washington Nationals. You're ahead of them in the standings. On paper, you should be better. 4-game set at home. Win that series. Take 3 out of 4. Then you have the Tigers for 3 at home. Win that series as well. Give your fans a reason to show up to the ballpark. Give them some exciting games. Finish strong. 3 weeks left in the year. Nationals and Tigers next week, and that's the second to last homestand, because you're going to have the Rockies, Rangers, and Phillies. The next 3 series after that, those are all on the road. So if you want to go to Lone Depot Park, you want to go see the Marlins play, have a hot dog, have a drink, a soda, a beer, whatever your go-to beverage is, enjoy the game, enjoy baseball, because we are entering football season. And for those of you who watch football, watch the Miami Dolphins, a lot of you are going to be tuning into that as the next September, as September continues to roll along. But it's been a fun season. There's no doubt about that. But when you're at this point and you now have 5 straight losses, you're not playing good quality baseball, it's hard for fans to be as invested as you are when you're playing really good baseball. Imagine being a fan of a team that is competitive right now and is going for a postseason berth. That's the goal for the Marlins. And at one point, I remember saying, I think this team could be in contention for the wild card. They just faded down the stretch, unfortunately. But hey, what can you do? It's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present college football kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Hawley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. And until next time, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Weekend edition of Locked On Marlins. Stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.